Hi, this is Mary Barnett, Mobile Mary, from Another Brilliant Idea and Brilliant Mobile Messaging, and you're listening to the Eat, Blog, Talk podcast.
Hey, awesome food bloggers. Before we dig into this episode, I have a really quick favor to ask you. Go to your favorite podcast player, go to Eat, Blog, Talk, scroll down to the bottom where you see the ratings and review section. Leave Eat, Blog, Talk a 5-star rating if you love this podcast, and leave a great review. This will only benefit this podcast. It adds value, and I so very much appreciate your efforts with this. Thank you so much for doing this. Okay, now on to the episode. Food bloggers, hey, how are you today? Welcome to Eat, Blog, Talk, the podcast for food bloggers looking for value and competence that will move the needle forward in your business. This episode is sponsored by Rank IQ. I am your host, Megan Porta, and you are listening to episode number 304. Today, Mary Barnett is here to chat about social media strategies that will grow engagement. Mary Barnett, also known as Mobile Mary in the industry, is a text marketing and social media expert, and her company, Another Brilliant Idea Inc., helps business owners and restaurants use social media to grow a database that they own so they can reach their best customers offline, giving them what they want instantly and on demand to increase sales and brand loyalty. Hello, Mary. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's such a pleasure to have you here on the podcast.
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm excited. And, we have a lot to talk about with social media and text marketing. But before we dig into that, we would love to hear what your fun fact is.
Well, my fun fact, and I think we're going to get into this in a little bit more detail, and maybe not a lot of people know this, but we technically don't own social media. I know it's a shocker, but there's some big guys up there that do own it and control everything. So it's important that we use social media as a phenomenal platform to get our message out there. But it's our responsibility to build a list of people who know, like, and trust you based on your wonderful reputation on social media, and build a list so you have the ability to talk to them instantly and on demand whenever you want to, because that is the basis of every business is your customers.
Well, that leads into our conversation nicely, and I liked how you framed that. It's like thinking of it like borrowed territory almost.
Yes.
Which is kind of scary, right?
Right.
It's not ours. It's not our territory.
Exactly.
Well, I want everyone to hear, because you mentioned your name is Mary Barnett, but you also go by Mobile Mary, which I think is kind of intriguing. So can you tell everyone where you got that name?
Sure, of course. Well, I know this is not a video, and so my little joke is that I've been in business now 34 years, and I'm only 35, and I smile and, of course, look cute, and everyone bursts into laughter, but I started my business very young, not at zero, but, close. But I had a marketing firm basically for 20 years, and about almost 15 years ago, I was actually working with a client, Kawasaki. You might have heard of them. They make motorcycles. And they were kind of complaining that their dealers were whining to them that they weren't sending them enough business. And so I had read this amazing article about this text marketing. Flip phones were basically in everyone's hip pocket. The smartphone had just come out that year, the iPhone, in 2007. And I said, well, why aren't you marketing to them where they are, like literally mobile? They're on their motorcycles. They're not waiting at home for their direct mail. They're not, they might be looking at a billboard, but they're not, opening their email from their phone because it wasn't a thing yet. And so it took 2 years to convince their agencies that this would work, because literally it had never been done on a national scale before. But don't give me a challenge, because when you tell me I can't do something, I'm like, I'm the baby of 6 kids. So I'm like, you're not the boss of me. So I basically, with help of some very smart engineers, we built a platform that allowed our customers to build a list of customers who wanted them, right? Wanted information. They know, like, and trust them. And we, in the summer of 2009, we drove over 93,000 new customers to the dealerships across the country. And I was like, OMG, like, in 20 years of business, I've never had that kind of return or conversion on any marketing campaign I'd ever done. I was literally, even though we built it, I was blown out of the water. And I was like, oh my God, I bet these strategies would help other people. So I totally dove headfirst into mobile marketing. Of course, it was right when the recession was in full swing and people were like, what? New? People will carry their phone around? What? I'm like, just believe me, this is mobile's the future and the future is now. So I started this radio show and my producer said, because that was kind of my opening, song, mobile, they did this whole thing, mobile, whatever. And he goes, oh my gosh, you should go by Mobile Mary. It's all you talk about is mobile. And I was like, oh my gosh,
it stuck.
Let's do it, man. So I was like, the Brilliant Mobile Marketing Show with Mobile Mary. The mobile's the future. The future is now. Like, they did this whole thing. And so, yeah, it just started from there. And so I started speaking on stages. Most people thought I was crazy. They thought, wow, why would you carry a mobile, like a phone around with you? We leave it in our car. It's a family phone. We leave it at home for emergencies. I'm like, okay, 5 to 10 years from now, you're going to go, wow, that Mobile Mary. She really knew what she was talking about, because you're not going to leave the house without your phone, your wallet, and your keys. And people were like, you're crazy. And hello, it's come true today. So I'm very excited about that.
Your prediction definitely came true, because nobody is without their phone right now, right?
Right. You almost panic when you don't have it. Like, I've literally turned around a mile from my house to go back to get my phone. It's crazy.
Yeah. I know. It's like a security thing or something. My husband has this thing. He says, every time he leaves home, he does keys, wallet, phone. And just like, you need your phone, you need your keys, you need your wallet.
It's like the mobile market.
Are they all there?
Right?
Yes, exactly. Okay, well, I want to hear more about mobile marketing and text marketing. But first, I would love to hear about your thoughts about social media. You kind of touched on this in your fun fact, but we don't own social media. So can you expand on that a little bit?
Of course. So for a long time, a lot of my customers would tell me, oh man, I don't even need my website anymore. Like, I'm just going to build everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on LinkedIn or whatever. So I'm just going to fill that up. So they were like starting to ignore their blogs, which you guys, I know your listeners are all bloggers and are so smart, by the way, because literally blogs are your real estate that you can plant your flag in. The blogs are so important, and people started ignoring them. They were putting all their content on social media, basically feeding the beast that was owned by others. And so, I kept saying, well, at least when you write your blog, like put that content on it, but keep it on your blog, drive them back to your website. Like, I would always preach that. So it's so cool that I'm talking to you about blogs. And people were like, oh yeah. And then one day, God forbid, Facebook went down, and they're like, oh my God. Well, I'm like, what do you expect? You don't own it. I mean, it was only down for, 6 hours. I can remember the date. It was like people literally lost their minds.
I remember that.
Oh my gosh, it was funny. And I was like, see, like you, and then, with everything that was happening with the lockdown and with politics and all that garbage, if you said one wrong thing, like some fact checker would look at you and go, well, you said one wrong word. We're just, we're kicking you off. And like, even if people didn't do anything wrong, they were being kicked off. And so I had so many people coming to me and saying, what do I do? What do I do? Now, the ones that already had built a list were like, thank you so much for convincing me to do this. Because like during the lockdown, we have a lot of restaurants. And I know that you talk, obviously Eat, Blog, Talk, love that. So we have a lot of restaurants that use it. And the restaurants that had built a list, they didn't see a blip. In fact, they actually made more money because they could let people know, hey, we're open, we're clean, we deliver. And we have this in our system. We have a way that you can actually, what's called a text buzzer, and you could like text people when their table's ready or when their order's ready to be picked up. So it was like they all of a sudden owned, like they were so excited because they were like felt so in control, and they had the power to talk directly to their customers. And then over the years, like, sadly, and I always joke about this, when Mark Zuckerberg finally had a baby, I was like, well, he has to feed that baby. So that's why we have Facebook ads, right? He has to feed that baby. So it kind of like at the same time kind of happens. It was always my joke. But I know your listeners are laughing hysterically right now. But yeah, so it kind of coincided. All of a sudden, Facebook ads. So then Facebook and all the other channels became pay to play. So if you were doing anything on your business page, all of a sudden you weren't getting any organic reach. So we're like, hey, like what's going on, right? We were so, expecting this to be free forever. But when you don't own something, as you said, you're living on borrowed territory. You don't. So I'm all about empowerment and owning your business, literally owning it, where you own all the assets of your business, because you owe that to yourself. You've worked hard. You've written your blog. I don't know how often that most people are writing blogs these days, but at least once a week, maybe once a month. But you put your blood, sweat, and tears in that. And if, something happened to that and was sucked away from you, oh my God, it's like you start mourning it, right? Like, oh my gosh, my baby. And so by having a way to reach your customers, again, I'm a big proponent of email. I know that's how most people get out their information about their new blog. They have a lot of RSS feeds and things like that, which is awesome. But in addition, it's just really good to have business insurance, to build that list. And if Ken, there's a whole strategy, and we can talk about that too, but whole strategy about building a list and nurturing it and treating it like gold. But I feel like businesses owe it to themselves. And it's so inexpensive to do so. It just takes a little effort and a little forethought to say, you know what, I need to give people the opportunity to join my list so I can bring them value, that's something that they appreciate, that will serve them well. And it's just a win-win.
So when you talk about building your list, you're talking about email and also mobile, right?
Yes. Yes.
So acquiring phone numbers as well?
Yes. So what's cool about text marketing, as long as you do it with a certified, viable company, of course, like ours, that is, plays by the FCC rules. So the FCC actually is really stringent nowadays because of the whole CAN-SPAM Act. They didn't initiate the CAN-SPAM Act until too late, really, for email. So that's why people have so much junk email. People just buying lists and spamming you, right? I'm sure you can relate to that, right? But it's actually illegal for you to spam people with a text message. So if anybody ever sends you a text message that you did not sign up for, if you literally screenshot it or you could actually say stop. And if for some reason it doesn't stop, because most FCC approved channels will do that, it'll stop the message and literally suck them off the phone or off the software. But if they're doing it illegally, you can literally call the your carrier and they will shut that number down. I mean, it's serious business. So, I have customers who come and say, can I just buy a list of people who are interested in, skincare or interested in restaurant or whatever? I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. You have to build it organically. It does take work, but it'll be so worth it because the people on your list will actually want your messages. If you bought a list and spam people, they would be mad at you. They wouldn't come to your restaurant. They wouldn't go to your blog because they'd be like, oh my God, who are these, weirdos? So it's really good to take the time to do it. And it's not that hard. I mean, you're basically offering them something that they want and then giving it to them. So it's super simple. It's just doing it in a way that that makes sense to your audience.
So I get spammed all the time on my phone, and I didn't know that you could do that. So all I have to do is screenshot it, send it to AT&T,
yes,
and with the phone number, and they will take care of it.
It will shut them down, yeah. But first, respond by saying stop.
I've tried that so many times.
Okay. Then they're obviously doing it illegally. So
Okay.
yeah. So definitely screenshot it, which, would have the phone number at the top, and then, just email to them, or they might even have, we can actually activate landlines with our software. So a lot of big companies who want to use text marketing as a customer service option, you can call or text their main number. So a lot of, the carriers, I'm assuming, have probably the same thing. So there might be a number you can just text that screenshot to.
Okay. Great to know. So you talked about organically acquiring a list. Can you talk us through how to do that?
Oh, sure. So there's a few different ways to do it. So when you're basically gathering a list, a software like ours, Brilliant Mobile, allows you to set up a keyword that people would text in to a number. So we have shared short codes, which is like a 5-digit number. You can text the word Mary to the number 71441. Okay. And then in response, you'll get an autoresponder, right? That says, I can't remember what that one says because I have a number of keywords. I use one keyword for like when I publicly speak. I'd use another keyword on my website. I need another keyword so I know where they're coming from. So a keyword actually allows you to create a specific database for a certain reason. So like tomorrow, I'm doing a free masterclass on, I know this won't be out, so it'll be over time, but I'm doing a masterclass on building micro courses. And so I set up one of my keywords. It's the word brilliant, and the short code is 40691. So if anyone texts the word brilliant to the number 40691, even if it's after the fact, I'll of course change it for something else, but they'll actually get a link to the Zoom call that I'm going to be doing. It'll give them the date and time. But when they do that, what's cool is they've now opted in because they're interested in this micro course. Okay. So they, up until like an hour before the course, it's basically saying, hey, welcome, super excited, save this date, and here's the link. And then an hour before the masterclass tomorrow, I'll send out another message that says, so excited, grab your pad of paper and a cup of coffee, and we're getting started at 10 a.m. Here's the link again. So everyone who's interested is now going to get a friendly reminder. So like, oh, great, thanks. I was getting distracted. I'm writing my blog, or I'm feeding the dog, or whatever it is, right? They're like, oh, thank you. And it's so convenient, right? Because like everyone now is using text because it works, right? Dentists remind you of their appointment. Your hair salon reminds you of your appointment. It's one of the big reasons for text marketing for that. But anyway, so that's a short code. You can also, our system, and maybe other platforms do the same thing, creates a QR code for that same thing. So when you so you see a QR code like on an ad or on a social, like an image, you can hold your phone up to it and it actually opens up a text message that's pre-populated with that keyword. Again, it's very targeted marketing, right? So I'm targeting that I want, again, let's use this example, to the micro course. So they scan that QR code, it'll basically open up and it'll pre-filled in the word brilliant, and all they have to do is hit send. Okay, so I always say scan, click, send. So that's the second way you can do it. The third way is that we have web forms, which I'm sure everyone listening to this knows what that is, because with software like ConvertKit or whatever, they put web forms. So you can actually create a web form to do the exact same thing on your blog. You can have a little box that says put in your name and your phone number. And again, our service also collects email, it collects birthdays, it collects your favorite color, like whatever you want to collect from your audience, because we also have a done for you service, which I call text funnels, that we literally build a text funnel. So kind of like a sequence of emails, when someone first opts in to get a message from you, you can do the same thing with text marketing. There's a balance there. I believe that you have a balance between text and email and social, because you never know where your audience wants their information or they get their information. So there is a strategy to it, but it's basically, you think about it, it's just like building an email list, but our first priority is their phone number, and then we ask what's your email or what's your birthday, something like that.
This is definitely a unique strategy for food bloggers, and I was just trying to think about how we could apply it to our businesses. And one of the ideas that I had, maybe you have some more, Mary, is if you are doing cooking classes and you want to let people know maybe what's coming up for a cooking class, either in person or virtual, that you are hosting, and then letting them know like right before it's, like maybe a day before the cooking class, like, hey, don't forget, go get your ingredients. And then also remind them like an hour before, like, can't wait to see you.
I love it.
I think that would be that would be a great way to use it. But I'm trying to think, like, do you have any other ideas?
Sure.
I mean, obviously, what food bloggers' businesses are about, because you described it so well before. Like, we have blogs and we, manage social media and all of that. So what other ideas do you have?
Sure. Well, I really like your idea about maybe the day before sending out a link that has a whole recipe list. Or check, so they could check it off in the grocery store, make sure they have everything before the class. Because that's kind of where I was talking about the sequencing, like building a funnel to bring them to the event you're trying to promote. You can also obviously send a link, like a PayPal link or a Venmo link or something, so they have to pay you before the class to make sure that they're doing it. So that's, we all have to eat, so you have to monetize. But with food bloggers, I'm assuming that, as you mentioned before, that you do take advertising on your blogs. It might be a value add to, again, you'd have to be upfront about this with your audience, that if you had a sponsor, let's say, I'm I'm trying to think. If you had an Italian cooking show and your sponsor was like a fancy Parmesan cheese, can't think of a name of one. And you might say to your audience, hey, I'm going to be using text marketing to make sure you don't miss one of my cooking shows. And because we're so graciously sponsored by, let's call them, Abbondanza Parmesan, if it's okay with you, when you opt in, we'll actually once a month send you a coupon that you can use for Abbondanza Parmesan that you won't get anywhere else. So if you opt into my list, not only will you get reminders of when my cooking classes are, have the opportunity to be the first to get into the VIP area of my cooking show, or, however you want to layer your different, I used to do a lot of sponsorship marketing. Then opt in, and remember, you're going to be getting some really cool deals when you're joining my VIP club. And so you have Abbondanza saying, wow, here's this blogger. So now it puts you as a cut ahead or a cut above. Here's a blogger that not only maybe drives 5,000 people to an online cooking class, but on top of that, I have the ability, and I'm thinking like a sponsor, I have the ability to talk directly to their people. Now, you don't share that list with them unless that's something you, again, tell your audience, say, hey, I'm sharing this with Abbondanza Parmesan. But you'd be like, no, you control it as a blogger. You're saying, Abbondanza, if you want access to my 5,000 live, viewers, then you have to sponsor me. And you give me the ability to send them out like a $5 off coupon or whatever it is, right? And then it becomes this real value add to not only that sponsor, but to your audience, because they know they can only get that through you.
So special offers, VIP, I didn't think of that, VIP upgrades, to other things you offer. And then also just like any bonus, people love bonuses. So if you're
100%,
in the exclusive bonus group, then I can see people being all on board with that.
Oh yeah. In fact, you could do something where, like when there was more live events, I know we're finally getting back to that, which is awesome. But if you were a VIP, you got to enter the room first. So you could talk to other VIPs and you could meet the speaker, and you have that little 30-minute schmooze fest for the rest of the crowd comes into the room, right? So you could actually send out something to only VIPs that allows them to come in to a question and answers. I'm thinking of your cooking show idea, a question and answer time that nobody else gets access to. So they can get all the extra prep and stuff that they might not have, so when it's time to cook, they're ahead of the game between people who aren't VIPs. So you could actually sell that. Like we once had a vitamin shop, and they were more like a natural food store, but they made a lot of their money in vitamins. But the challenge was people were running out of vitamins. They weren't remembering to buy them again. And this was really before Amazon, really. And so they basically sold our tech service as a value add. And again, this was before you could set reminders on your own phone. They actually, for $5 a month, they would actually sell their customers the ability for the company to text them, because it was all automated, of course, every day at whatever time they set. It was like 7:00. It reminded them to take their vitamins, which I know sounds silly, but it was a big deal then. And then at about day 22, it would say, hey, it's about time to order your vitamins again. Here's a link. And then people were like, oh my gosh, you're right, I'm out. So they would click a link and they would order their next month of vitamins. So it became a
creative
maker. Yeah, it was. So there's a lot of fun things you can do. But again, it's permission-based marketing. And so you have to be completely transparent with your audience. If you ever start trying to pull a fast one and, and then you tell them it's about one thing, but you're really delivering something else, that's the fastest way to get people to opt off your list. But if you treat these people with kid gloves, which I'm sure all of your bloggers do. I mean, they're so grateful for people to come read their blog and interact with them online so they can make money on ads and they can make a living to feed their family. When you treat your customers like that, like gold, they will not only be loyal for life, but they're going to refer their friends, because like on our system, we actually have a way that you can share coupons. And if the person you share it with opts in to receive that coupon, you can get another reward. So it's like referral rewards. So when they get the thing, if they get the coupon for that Abbondanza Parmesan, and then you've given the ability to share it, they can share that with their best friend. Say, hey, I thought you might like this $5 off too. And then the system basically says, just reply with this word, and we'll send you that coupon. And the minute their friend does that, and they have now added to their list, right? They've now grown the list virally. Their original friend who shared it now gets a bonus. They're like, now they got like a $10 off coupon or something, and it's all automated, so people don't have to even think about it. It's actually brilliant, and that's why we call our software Brilliant Mobile.
Hey, food bloggers. I would love to take just a minute to tell you about my new favorite keyword research tool, RankIQ. Why is it my favorite? I will give you my top 3 reasons. 1, I save a ton of time writing blog posts. 2, it's providing me with killer traffic. And 3, because of that increased traffic, I'm making more money. Here's the strategy I've been using since the start of 2022. I have been publishing between 1 and 3, typically on the higher end, so 2 to 3, new non-recipe posts per week, all of which have been researched and run through the optimizer within RankIQ. It is now the beginning of May, so I've been doing this for a handful of months, and I am already seeing such great results. My traffic so far in 2022 is up 37% year over year when compared to the same time period in 2021. All thanks to this content I'm creating through RankIQ. As I produce more of this content and get further into the year, I anticipate that it is going to gain even more momentum and take off. Also, all of that non-recipe content I'm creating in these posts supports my other content in some way. So this could be a positive signal to Google that I'm an authority in those certain sub-niches within my blog. Go to rankiq.com to sign up and see for yourself how amazing this tool is. Okay, now back to the episode. Wow, my wheels are turning over here because I'm just trying to think of other ways to explore this outside of cooking classes. What about delivering exclusive content? So maybe like exclusive recipes or anything. I just like that word bonus. Like anything that we see as a bonus to our existing content could be delivered this way.
100%. I love it. I love your creativity. That's awesome. Yeah. So there is a variety of ways you can actually deliver messages. So a standard text message that you would just like text your boyfriend, like bring home ice cream or something, just the words, right? That is called an SMS, simple messaging system. But when you send a picture of your, dress in the dressing room to your best friend and say, what do you think of this? Right? That's an MMS, multimedia system. So, service. So that's basically like a picture, and it could be a picture, a video, an audio clip. And so you can actually send that through text as well. And it gets a even higher opt-in rate because people are like, ooh, it's like coming into your stream. Like, so you could actually have like a little audio clip and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, that you're part of our VIP program. Get ready for blank, whatever it is. And then you can actually send a series of those audio clips or videos but again, it goes directly to your customer, right to the phone that they're always on. Sadly, we're never 3 feet away from that darn thing 24/7.
So true.
So you really have to be diligent about serving your clients because they say, when you have, what is that expression? When you have a lot of power, you have the choice to use it for good or evil. I don't know. Like with something comes great responsibility. I always blow that quote.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes. There you go. So by owning your list, you have great power. You literally have your customers in the palm of your hand. And so, our system actually doesn't allow you to text before 7 a.m. in your time zone and after 9 p.m. in your time zone, because that's just polite, right? But you could text them every 5 minutes if you wanted, but that would be obnoxious and nobody would like you and they would opt off your list faster than I don't know.
Yes. Fast.
What I'm saying is, so you treat them like, what would you want to do? It's like, here's another example. So we actually were blessed with the military account. We work with the military, the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Marines. And when we first got their account, it was so funny because here's little old me standing in front of a bunch of colonels and general, all those people. They were like so excited that they had the ability to communicate directly with their staff, their personnel, basically the men and women in uniform. And they were like, oh my God. So they're thinking, when you put some guy in boot camp, you tell them what to do and they do it, jump, how high, that kind of stuff. So they were like, oh my gosh. Okay. So we can actually tell them like what to do, when to do it, how to do it. I'm like, well, you can. Okay. So how many texts can we send them a day? I'm like, wait, like, you don't want to do that. They're like, well, yeah, we do. We want to tell them what to do because a lot of times they don't respond to us if they're out in the field, but text marketing will get through if they're cell towers, right? I'm like, 100%. Like it's guaranteed to get through. It's not like, spam or email. And they're like, okay, so we want to tell them like when Revelry is and when they have to do this and I'm like, whoa, slow your roll, dudes. Like I said, this is their personal device. Unless you're willing to buy them a cell phone, pay for their service and, keep it, locked onto their body. This is their personal device and you have to respect that. And, and of course I could have made a lot more money if I would have gone with that. But I said, you know what, you're just going to anger them and they have guns.
And they have guns. Yes, be careful who you anger.
That's right. So yeah, so it's great. So we actually have some bases that use it to tell their Marines what's to eat in the mess hall. So they're strong and healthy. And we have other bases that use it for like social things like, hey, we're having a dance, we're having a poker game, or having a concert for the families. Because, when you're living on base, sometimes it gets boring and they want to keep people happy. And so I'm so blessed that they use our system to be able to communicate to people who feel a little disenfranchised.
You mentioned audio earlier, sending audio clips. And before you mentioned that, I had actually written down in my notebook, use audio, because I'm on this train lately of trying to get food bloggers to use audio more. Because there's so much power there, because it's just like that human connection without having, we talked about this before we recorded, without having to get on video. It's just such a powerful way to communicate. So I love that idea of just sending a quick audio clip through text message to say, hey, it's Megan. I'm working on this new exclusive sauce recipe and you're on my VIP list. So I'm giving this to you. Here you go. Have a great week. Love you. Just like something really...
I actually got shivers. That is such a great idea.
And people connect with that.
People would feel so loved. And again, this is totally dating me. I already said, been in business for 4 years. But remember the TV show Cheers?
Oh, yes. Love Cheers.
Yes. Thank you. But when one gentleman would walk in, everyone would say, Norm. Yes. Remember that?
Yes.
Right? And the theme of the song was where everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
Right? People crave human connection.
Yeah.
And I think that's why social media became so hot so fast, is that they were able to connect with long lost friends in high school or college or work relationships or family, because they wanted to know what was going on in their life. They wanted to be seen and heard. And that's why vanity metrics, even though now, quote, it's dead, because I just went to the social media marketing world. It doesn't really even matter how many people like your stuff, by the way. They're totally downgrading that. So that's a whole nother conversation. But it's all about engagement, which we all knew, I think, mentally, in our hearts, we knew that was important, but we're like, no, we just want 1 million people to like our stuff. No, it's all about who engages with you. So on your stories and on your reels, which they're pushing heavy, video is heavy. But the same thing with audio, like it's a human talking to you and you're talking to your audience like they're humans, like they matter, because everyone wants to feel like they matter. Everyone wants to be seen and heard and listened to and understood, right? I think right now with all the lockdown and everything, people feel invisible. They feel isolated and not important. I'm about to cry. Like it's so important that we not only treat our friends and family that way, and of course senior citizens and disabled and people who are just like on the fringe that feel like no one cares anymore about them. But it's important to treat our customers like that, like that they're important because they took the time to read your blog or listen to your message or be a part of your group, that they care enough. And so you need to treat them the same way, that you care enough about what they think and because don't you love, like when you write a blog, comments and questions, don't you love that?
Yeah, I do. And especially you mentioned like people using your name, like when people use my name, it just makes you feel like, oh, they actually took the time to write my name and they know me. And if I can hear them say that, even more powerful. If somebody actually talks to me with their human voice, isn't that just awesome?
Yeah, it is so awesome. In fact, I was going to say, because a text, you can actually personalize it. So you'd be like, hey, Megan, we have this special for you today. And that would be in written form. So, I mean, you could take the time to record everybody's name.
Right. That would be right. That would take a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so that gives me some really good ideas. And then I was also thinking about just evaluating the texts that come into your phone and seeing which ones are not spammy. Like, which ones do you actually like? Because I am on a few lists of groups like that I actually value, and I like hearing from these people, and they don't really know me very well, but I feel like an important individual because of the way they frame the text and also their frequency. So they don't like oversaturate my inbox. They make every message timely and personable. So just noting what comes in that you like and maybe doing something similar.
Yes. So I'm obviously a text junkie because I want to sign up for everybody to see what they do.
Yeah, I bet.
So, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've been doing this now, like I said, for 15 years. And some people are like, oh, honey. Oh, look at you trying how to do that, but you're totally missing the boat. So I would say, based on your suggestion, actually, the personal the better. So based on their purchases, based on groups that they're involved in, and again, like I said, it's so easy to segment your market with a keyword that what these people are interested in. So you might have a keyword that is all about cooking class that is connected to your cooking classes. You might have a keyword that's all about just, your blog. So people want to know when it's coming, because that's the other thing, because people don't open their email as much. Some of my customers are actually saying, by the way, I sent you a text, look for it because there's a special in it. And so people will get that text and go, I'll go check my email, because, it gets lost. It gets in junk mail. It gets buried with all the other spam. So that's another way to bring attention to it. But again, it's getting to know your audience, what they want. We also have a feature like polls and questionnaires where, again, a lot of the features on our software is really just all about engagement. It's learning about your customers so you can serve them better. So, asking one example, we have a Mexican food chain that uses our service. In fact, they grew their list. I think they've been with us about 5 years. I think they have over 80,000 people on their list. This is a small little chain. I think they've grown out to about 22 restaurants now, but they started with us and I think they had like 7. And we've segmented it per store. So when they're opening a new store, we use geo mapping and actually can send a message out to everybody who's in a 5-mile radius of that new store. And we can send them a message saying, hey, we're opening on this corner, put a link to the map. And if you text back with this word, we'll actually put you on their special VIP list and you'll get a free burrito when we open. So it has grown their restaurant list huge. And so they were one of my success stories during the lockdown, because they actually made more money because they were in front of their customers. But you just said something about the personalizing. So with questionnaires and polls, you can actually say, hey, and this is what they did. They actually said, hey, do you prefer tacos, burritos, or quesadillas? Right. So it was text 1 for taco, 2 for burrito, 3 for quesadilla. Right. So the people would text back, or they were actually more specific about what kind of each of those. But so they were trying to gauge their audience in each store of what they like, so they could actually stock those stores with the products that made their customers' favorite food. So this is all, tied all the way back into the back end of their operations of their business. But so people would text back 1 for taco, 2 for burrito, 3 for quesadilla, for example. And so when they did, let's say they text 2 for burrito, the response in the text funnel, and I'm doing air quotes that you can't see me, if they responded back burrito, right, 2 for burrito, they would say, oh my gosh, burritos rock. We have this brand new spicy Jack burrito, and here's a coupon for it. We'll let you know if we have any other burrito specials in the future. Well, now we have a sub list of people who love burritos. So anytime they were trying to get rid of burritos, or they had an overrun of burrito supplies, or they just thought, oh, it's a good day for a burrito, they would send a message out only to the burrito lovers. And the same thing with tacos, same thing with quesadillas. So it just allowed them to get to know. And then the people who got it were like, oh my God, they know I love burritos. I do love burritos. Burritos are my life.
I want a burrito now. I'm starving. Thanks, Mary.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It all comes down. I think you're the one who said this first. It all comes down to personal relationships and human connection, and people are craving it. And you need to figure out how to to provide that. And then you're going to have these clamoring fans who won't leave you alone. They're going to want to follow you and buy your products and hire you to do consulting and master classes and everything else you do because they love you so much because you took the time to get to know them.
Oh my gosh, that was so well said. I love clamoring fans. I think we all hear that and think, yes, please, I want clamoring fans. And this is so interesting because I've never given this any thought, which is funny because I am on people's text mobile lists and I've just never considered this being a part of my business. But you've made such a case for doing it authentically and in a way that is going to not only benefit us, but serve our people. So very, very interesting, Mary. I did not expect to have this perspective, I guess, at the end of our conversation, but.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I get really passionate about it. And it's so nice to be able to talk to someone who totally gets it. Because I think that you obviously have you have a show on this. Like you're here serving your people, like people who write blogs. I'm assuming you have your own blog as well. Yeah, there you go. See? And so you've taken the time to create a show that serves your peers that have competing blogs. Like the fact that you're doing that obviously says a lot about your heart and your servant. I call it a servant's heart. So thank you for serving that audience because I'm sure there are a lot of new bloggers that, are so grateful to you for helping them show the way so they didn't have to step in the pitfalls that you probably did.
Oh my gosh, so many pitfalls I stepped into. And that is why I do this. Part of the reason I do this, because if I can help someone else avoid all of those pitfalls, or at least a majority of them, then yes, success. So thank you for saying that. That was really kind of you. Very kind words.
Of course. Well, it's very apparent, by the way. So thank you for doing everything you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that. And if you had to leave us with like one main takeaway, what would that be?
Oh my gosh. One main takeaway, that you're speaking to your bloggers that they can do it, or I should speak directly to them. You can do it. If this is your calling, if this is your, what you feel like you can serve the world to your higher self, keep going. Don't get discouraged, because, by persevering and keep going, even if it isn't like you feel like the best thing, right? Done is better than perfect. Just get it out there. Get your message out there. People want it. It's just like I call it being an answer to prayer, because you never know. And there's someone out there wishing that, gosh, if I could only, I have this special occasion. My mother-in-law's coming over. I want to make this really special meal. If I only knew how to make her favorite blank. And, I just wish. And then all of a sudden, boom, they get a text message or they see something on social media or they get an email with their blog and it says, here's how to make blank. That is an answer to a prayer. And you've just made that person's life so much better because you answered that call and you provided that service. And so bless you for doing that and being that answer to the people who are watching.
Oh my gosh, Mary, what a pleasure it was to chat with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day.
And it was so nice getting to know you, Megan. You're such a dear. I look forward to stalking you and following everything you do.
Stalk away. We will put together a show notes page for you, Mary. So if anyone wants to go look at those, you can go to eatblogtalk.com/brilliantmobile. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you everywhere?
Sure. Well, my business name is Another Brilliant Idea because everyone needs another brilliant idea, right? So anotherbrilliantidea.com is our main corporate website, but we do have a website called brilliantmobile.com where they can actually sign up for a free account and check it out and see if it's something that would help them. And we have monthly access to our software as little as $47 a month. And there's no contracts and they can just see if it's something that works for them. But I encourage, even if it's not our service, to please build a list of people. So when you sell your business, it's more valuable. And if there's an emergency, you have that insurance to help you in your business.
Awesome. Thank you for all of that. And thanks again for being here, Mary. And thank you for listening today, Food Bloggers. I will see you in the next episode.
Have a brilliant day.
We're glad you could join us on this episode of Eat Blog Talk. For more resources based on today's discussion, as well as show notes and an opportunity to be on a future episode of the show, be sure to head to eatblogtalk.com. If you feel that hunger for information, we'll be here to feed you on Eat Blog Talk.